Hello and welcome to Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you today by MegaPixx Media. Joining me is Liz Ballendine, who is Vice President of Fund Development, Community Initiatives and Events with the Alberta Children's Hospital Foundation. Thanks for joining us today, Liz.
Thanks for having me.
Let me ask if you can explain a second campaign that you're running now on the child and youth mental health initiatives. Tell me a little bit about the campaign and what that's all about.
Well, the great news is, even in difficult times like this, the Children's Hospital is very grateful that partners and business partners like Sobeys are still rallying around children and their families at this difficult time. In this case, Sobeys are actually launching their in-store fundraising campaign for us. It's both national and local. So it's an initiative through Canadian Children's Hospital Foundations, and the money raised will go to support the local children's hospitals and the ways that they are helping children navigate mental health illness at this time. So we're excited. It's a bright light. We hope that people will support us by going to Sobeys and affiliated branches and helping the fundraising, and all that money will help kids in the community get access to mental health and also build some funds towards research into mental health as well. So
when does the campaign run till?
It runs from September the 16th to the 30th.
Okay, super then. So we're right in the middle. We're not in the middle of the beginning of it right now.
We're at the beginning.
Super. Tell me a little bit about why this particular area in terms of fundraising and why it's been important to support initiatives that deal with mental health problems for kids.
That's a great question. I think unfortunately, even before COVID hit, we were noticing a huge uptick in children and adolescent needing more help with mental health. And we were seeing a rise in numbers coming to the hospital. We were seeing problems with access to care. We were seeing some inability to understand or know where to go for help, and sometimes a resistance to go to the hospital for these struggles. Yeah. And so what we started doing quite a few years ago is working with our partners and obviously with AHS, and thanks to community support rallying around, we've actually been supporting and investing in mental health for many years. And the culmination of which will be that next year we'll be opening an actual centre for child and youth mental health in Calgary to help increase access, but also wherever possible stop children from only having emergency as an access point. So that's great. The other challenge which we've noticed is that the treatment and the efforts behind mental health hasn't really advanced as much as we'd like it to do. So what we want to do is also not just treat the clinical challenges, but put the money into research as well, so we have a better understanding and can develop more personalized treatment and care for these kids and their families. So we're building a centre, which is great. That will take a lot of stress off the emergency and off all the other partners who do great work in this area. But we're also in the meantime building the platforms to make sure that when we open the centre, we're doing research at the same time. And in the run up to opening the centre, we're also investing in more programs and support for people who are navigating it at the moment. We're seeing the numbers have increased enormously at our emergency at the Children's Hospital, as I'm sure everyone knows. Yeah. COVID feels like it sort of hit everyone in lots of different ways, but for the kids, it obviously did not help the mental health crisis that was already occurring. So partners like Sobeys and our other partners who have rallied behind the mental health centre and some of this support are really going to be bringing us forward with mental health and getting us to a better place to help these kids. And so we're very grateful, and we're very grateful that a lot of these companies are pushing the care to the forefront and the issue to the forefront, because that will help a lot with the stigma, but also with the care and the research.
It's interesting as you bring up, mental health, because it's not something that you would associate with the children's hospital, right? Normal, like the normal person, you think about taking your kid in to emerge because they fell off their bike and they got a broken arm, or they have more severe, obviously, things like cancer and stuff like that. But I don't think people realize what the children's hospital does for mental health.
Well, I think that's right. And I think that all the things that you just said have been part of the problem, in that I think that parents and kids feel a bit uncomfortable coming to the emergency at the children's hospital for these issues, even though they are often as challenging and life limiting and sometimes as dangerous as any other illness or injury. So that has been a real problem. But at the emergency, through the emergency to the children's hospital and at the other centres, of course, we do offer some beds for care for those people that need to be admitted. The challenge is we don't have very many beds. And for some of the kids and parents that come there, they might have had a better experience, or it might have been a better place to be somewhere else and get treatment in their home or in a different centre. So I think what you say is absolutely spot on. I think that it's not the best place for most of the children and families that are having to access it. And the numbers have just, gone up and up as we go through the sort of pandemic. So we really want to have a better version of it.
Okay, let me ask you one last thing, Liz. When you're looking at, obviously, the foundation does a lot of work in raising money for the children's hospital and programs there. What has it been like, in the past 18 months or so during the pandemic for yourself as a fundraiser, or for any charities out there? Has it been difficult in this period of time to raise money?
Well, thank you. So it's an excellent question. We were very concerned. We were also very mindful, both for the safety, but also for the businesses of so many of our donors and supporters. And so, yes, of course, we were very concerned. As someone who oversees the events, that all obviously got turned upside down. And there were some very troubling times. The great news, I think, for us, and I hope it's true for other charities, is that people are still very kind and people still remember to support their communities. And so the people that have been able to continue to support us have done so. And some of them have even stepped up further because they recognize that some of our other donors, some of our events haven't been able to take place. So we have managed to continue fundraising, and we've been able to continue to give the support that we can to provide the kids and families and the hospital with the services they need. So yes, thank you. We're very grateful, and we have been able to continue, obviously in a completely different way than before. We've also had to pivot in terms of, we are looking at, more partnerships. We are looking at filling different gaps that maybe there weren't before the pandemic. So it's a very interesting question, but we're very lucky. I think that people still sort of believe that kids and the medical professionals and all the staff that support them still deserve, if they can support them, it is somewhere that they still want to invest in. So I think we've been lucky in that regard.
All right, super. Thanks for joining us today, Liz.
Thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who watches, and thanks for your continued support. And thanks, of course, to people like Sobeys and all our other donors who help us advance care and research.
Okay, that was Liz Ballendine, who is the Vice President of Fund Development, Community Initiatives and Events with the Alberta Children's Hospital Foundation. This has been Business Insider with Mario Toneguzzi on YYC Business, brought to you by MegaPixx Media. Thanks for joining us.